How do you feel about the Sabbath day? Is it a day of don'ts or a day of do's? Is it a day of restriction or a day of rejoicing? Depending on how you feel about it, it'll probably give you some insight on how you're approaching it and if you've got some room for improvement there. What we just saw in section 59 is if you'll obey, I'll give you more commandments to obey. If you're living at this level of happiness, there's some room for improvement. Okay, you interested? And then he pivots and starts talking about the Sabbath day, which I think is so perfect because the Sabbath, there's a lot of wiggle room. There's a lot of things. We're not Pharisaical in terms of like, no, you can't take this many steps and you can't do that. And no, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Jesus taught that clearly in Mark. And yet, we could be getting so much more out of our Sabbath day observance if we simply observed ways to get more out of it. Now, that's probably not going to come from the pulpit in some kind of one-size-fits-all new standard. But personally, individually, I could ask the Lord, how can I get more out of your holy day? I want more do's and less fixation on don'ts. I want to change my approach to it because my kids hate Sundays. And I don't want them to feel that way. The Sabbath was given as a gift. 6 days of labor and then a day simply to come unto God, to rest from all thy labors. What a blessing. It was emphasized in creation. And here's a day to really create yourself in different ways. It was emphasized at the Exodus in the Ten Commandments because slaves don't get a day off. And so again, what a blessing. Now that you're out of Egyptian bondage, take a day. In fact, take one every week. So recreate yourself spiritually that day. Escape the bondage of worldly cares that day. When Jesus then, well, actually in the early church, when they shift from the seventh day as the Sabbath to the Lord's day as the Sabbath, it's to commemorate the resurrection, new life I'm offering you. And so is the Sabbath a day of creation? Is it a day of Exodus? Is it a day of resurrection? That gets me excited. That's the kind of Sabbath I want. So crown me with some commandments, not a few, on what my Sabbath day could be like. And that's exactly what he does in section 59. If you start in verse 9, he says, that thou mayest more fully keep thyself unspotted from the world, thou shalt go to the house of prayer and offer up thy sacraments upon my holy day. For verily this is a day appointed unto you to rest from your labors and to pay thy devotions unto the Most High. Now there's a lot in that passage to unpack. That thou mayest more fully keep thyself unspotted from the world. The world's a pretty dirty place. It's a pretty difficult place. And as we splash around in the muck, we do get spotted. We're trying to be unspotted, and that's a hard thing to come by. And yet our Sabbath day observance can help us become more fully unspotted. We talk about keeping the Sabbath day holy, but maybe we get the order wrong. Maybe it's the Sabbath day that keeps us holy, or at least holier than we'd otherwise be. A day to come up for air and look around and see, have I strayed from my path? It's easy to go a degree. We can easily become off by a degree. Pilot Uchtdorf has taught us about that, right? And so we've got to check the instruments. We've got to see, recalibrate, and do it on a weekly basis. How am I doing? Am I being spotted by the world? And what can I do to stay unspotted? Notice when he says to go to the house of prayer. Now, we learned during COVID, you can do a lot of churchy things from home. And yes, this is a church-supported, home-centered kingdom. So it's our house that God really wants to elevate. But yes, there are times he asks us to go to his house. And not just the temple, but the chapel. And to go to his house of prayer. Notice what he also says, offer up thy sacraments. Wait a minute, sacraments, those are yours. The sacrament, the bread, the water, you're the bread of life. You're the living water. Take this in remembrance of your body and your blood. Well, yes, I'll give you my sacraments, but I'm asking for you to bring yours. Huh? Oh, I'm supposed to bring the bread and the water? No. What are you offering? I offered you my all, my broken body, my spilled blood. What are you bringing in return? What can you offer to me? In that old 1828 dictionary that Noah Webster wrote, he defined sacraments in some interesting terms. And one of them was an outward show of inner grace. God provided that inner grace. How will I show it outwardly that the Lord is changing me? Can I come to his house of prayer and give and serve and lift and bless? Can I offer my broken heart and contrite spirit? Can I confess and forsake my sins? Can I seek commandments, not a few, to crown myself and others with? You understand? I want to bring my sacraments. Oh, they're nothing compared to the sacraments Jesus offers, but that's okay by him. Bring them. When he says to rest from your labors and pay thy devotions, interesting. Pay sounds like so debt-induced, like I owe God something. I got to pay off my debt. But no, you're paying with devotion. Yes, there's a lot of work to be done, but it's worship that the Lord is asking for here. And I do worry sometimes. Have we made church attendance more work than worship? And I've got to magnify my calling. Yes, we do. But give your heart along with your time. Pay with devotion and not just dedication. Worship and not just work. Sacrament and not just service. You understand? Sing the hymns with a little more fervor. Shed a few tears during a testimony meeting. Hold the bread a little longer before you eat it to ponder what it cost the Savior to offer it to us in the first place. We could get so much more out of our sacrament meetings if we take them sacramentally. Not just what we take, but what we give. And notice when he says rest from labor, he says rest from yours. That might not always be resting from his. Those of you who have served in really, really intense callings, you bishops, bishopric members and stake presidencies and relief society presidencies and primary presidencies, it's sometimes you laugh like, I thought this was supposed to be a day of rest. Well, it feels like I'm just doing all the rest of the stuff I couldn't do all week long. Well, you're resting from worldly labors, the kind that spot you. You're resting from the things that you would do the rest of the week. But the Lord's rest is a bit different. We'll see his definition when we get to section 84. Wait a few months for that too. Okay? This is what a Sabbath could look like. And in fact, if you keep reading, he gives us a little bit more. Verse 11 through 14. Nevertheless, thy vows shall be offered up in righteousness on all days and at all times. Now that's really important. We sometimes think of carving out the Sabbath because it's different from the week, and that's the day we're supposed to do all of our spiritual things. No. It's the day we're not supposed to do our worldly things. We can do spiritual things every day. We're supposed to confine the world to those 6 days, but we're not supposed to confine God to only one. No, he's the leaven that leavens the lump. Okay? He's the salt and the light that needs to be spread through everything else. And so don't confine your spirituality to a single day in 7. Got it? Do it on all days. Do it at all times. But then notice what he says here. But remember that on this, the Lord's day, apostrophe S, possessive pronoun. This one belongs to him. He's being generous to even share it with us. But what should I do for him on his day? Thou shalt offer thine oblations. And oblations are offerings. Anything we could give him. And thy sacraments, there's that term again, unto the Most High, confessing thy sins unto thy brethren and before the Lord. So now we're back to what he said in the previous revelation about real repentance is confessing and forsaking. In some ways, he's just saying here, be real with each other. You don't have to be fake. You don't have to be hypocritical. No, you don't have to air your dirty laundry over the pulpit. But can we admit that we came because we need help? We're partaking of the sacrament because I've got some things I'm working on. I need the peace that comes in the Lord's holy house. And so, yes, I'm coming to church. I'm confessing that to everyone. And then he says, and on this day thou shalt do none other thing. Only let thy food be prepared with singleness of heart, that thy fasting may be perfect. Or, in other words, that thy joy may be full. And then just in case you missed the synonym the first time, let me repeat it. Verily, this is fasting and prayer. Or in other words, rejoicing and prayer. You're like, whoa, wait a minute. That's the synonym? Fasting and prayer equals rejoicing and prayer. Fasting is rejoicing? Yeah. If you've had the paradigm shift, if you've seen hunger really can be happiness, fasting really can be fullness of joy. A day of sacrifice, quote unquote, can actually be a day of rich reward. And rest, quote unquote, can be a fullness of God's glory. Do you get what Sunday can be? If you do none other thing, you just turned it back into a day of don'ts. Not really. None other thing probably has more to do with your attitude. What's your attitude? What's your focus? Is it an eye single to the glory of God? Are you emphasizing Him and everything you do during that day? In fact, everything you do all week, really, at all times, in all things, I'm just trying to consecrate this to God. I'm trying to offer Him my actions and my attitudes. That'll change everything. And believe me, the Sabbath will be a joy to us, a day of incredible rejoicing. I remember a student once years ago, a new convert to the church that I taught in Tennessee, asked me some questions of like, can I do this on the Sabbath? Because the whole Sunday thing's a new thing for me and I don't want to break it. And the way she said it, I don't want to break the Sabbath, it hit me for the first time. What does it mean to be broken? Take any object, what does it mean to be broken? And you realize, it doesn't work the way it's supposed to work. Let that determine your Sabbath. Figure out what the Sabbath is supposed to do. This passage in section 59 has given us some clues. And if the Sabbath is working right, this is what it'll do for me. It'll keep me unspotted from the world. It'll recreate me. It'll deliver me. It will atone me, or it will resurrect me. It'll be a day of rejoicing. I'll connect horizontally with brothers and sisters that we're real with and confessing our need for help from above. It'll connect me vertically with a God who's offering His sacraments as I'm offering my paltry sacraments to Him. It'll be a day of devotion and dedication. Have you ever had a working Sabbath? A Sabbath that works the way it was designed to work? Well, anytime that a Sabbath doesn't work that way, then I guess it was broken. Broken by something I did or something I didn't do. Broken for whatever reason. Let that be your criteria. And may we make that day of rest a day that works the way the Lord intended.